Good day, my friends. We have an absolute, today's topic, today's reference, today's theme, today's whatever you want to call it, is going to be called nuance, and how you should be handling things. And are we winning? Yes. And more importantly, how do you deal with idiots? And do they understand? It's like, well, maybe yes, maybe no, but we have a lot to discuss. Gene Hackman, the Epstein files, Judge Roberts coming in at the last minute. A lot of things going on. The president involving himself in a prayer before his cabinet. I absolutely loved it. Why? Because I'm religious? No. Because I think it's no. It's because if that's what he wants to do it. I had to put up with this Rachel Levine and this nonsense and transgender military, and I had no say in this whatsoever. Okay? So if you don't like that, you have no say. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, my friends. So many aspects of what is happening. So many aspects. Again, nuance is tough. This we're going to play with what's going on regarding the Epstein file. I've talked about Epstein a million times. It's not what you think. What they're not talking about is, do you understand who he runs intel for? If this was a French intel, if Epstein was part of Macron or what was it, ISI, Pakistani intelligence, MI6, I forget the names of them, I used to know them, French, we would be saying, hey, what are you doing running foreign intel here on our shore, in our land, getting all these people, and what are you doing? But for some reason, and I think you know the reason, for some reason, we're not looking at that. We're looking and saying, well, that's a different thing. We have this, there's something, when it comes to religion, in our country, we have the most rudimentary sense of what it is. We're unable to identify religion versus nationalism, a country that might be involved in a religion. If we had any problem with India, you don't talk about Hindus. You don't talk about Hindus. Well, the Hindus are radical. No. But when it's anything involving the Middle East, it's always Islam versus Judaism. I say, no, that's not it. No. Because people love to reduce things to its most simple. That's not it. Today's theme is nuance. Today's theme is something which is you either have it or you don't. You either get it or you don't. And you have to sit back sometimes and say, things are looking great. Things are looking great. It may not be perfect. It may not. Remember, we are never going to get anything even remotely involving perfection. Nothing even remotely. But we are doing so well. But I just want you to understand, just for the record, it's almost like sometimes when you're being a parent and a child is acting up and you have to tell a child something. And somebody says, why did you let that child talk to you? And you say, it's a child. I'm trying to make the child understand. Half of the problem that we have is that we are dealing with people who have the political and geopolitical sophistication of a child. And we have to always lower it so that they understand, dare I say, the gravamen, the essence, like the gravamen, the essence of the indictment. Does that make any sense? Good. Make sure you are connected. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you like this, and make sure you are paying very close attention. Listen to me. Are you drowning in debt? You're not alone. New reports show the average person is buried under $8,674 in credit card debt, with total consumer debt soaring to a staggering $104,215, including mortgages, auto loans, student loans, and credit cards. It's a financial crisis, and without a real solution, many will keep spiraling deeper. That's why I want to introduce you to a powerful secret weapon that has helped so many regain control. They specialize in consolidating all your debts into one manageable monthly payment and even negotiate a settlement so that you can pay less than you actually owe. Think about this. They've already settled over $275 million in debt. Think about that. Helping people break free in an average of just 28 months. I've personally recommended their services to friends and clients who needed a way out, and now I'm bringing it straight to you, my loyal Lionel Nation family. So don't wait. Book a free consultation today, right now, at NoDebtWithLionel.com. That's NoDebtWithLionel.com. The link is right under the title here. It's time to take back control of your finances. Act now. Get out of debt and start living the life you deserve. All right, my friends, let me talk about a couple of things here. Before we begin, I want to talk about Gene Hackman first. I'm not going to do auto-mourn. I'm not going to do that. Let me see if I can explain it to you. Auto-mourn is when people act as though they are feeling something more than you. Their sense of loss, their performance lugubriousness, if that's a lugubriety. I don't know. Anyway, they feel it more. This Trachtenberg, we'll talk about her in a moment. Oh, I worked with her. Oh my God. I knew I worked with her. You never talked about it before. I know, but now, God damn it, oh, Jesus, God, oh, my Lord, no words, thoughts and prayers. That's what social media do. Remember, plural now. That's what social media do. It pulls this artificial, everything is exaggerated. Oh, I'm with my friends. I'm loving my friends. Oh my God, I'm so lucky. I'm so good. My friends, and we're eating. Oh, look, we're having tiramisu. God, I love living the good life. Hashtag good life. Hashtag blessed. I'm so blessed. Oh, gee. That's what it does. And let me also say something. It's not social media. It's the camera. You see, if these numbnuts had to write, oh my God, here I am with my friends. No, they're going to write anything. Oh, look, we're having tiramisu. That means lift me up in Italian. I didn't know that. We're at this wonderful restaurant. You should try. No. It's the camera. It's the camera. So anyway, false, Gene Hackman, I liked Gene Hackman. I really like Gene Hackman. Before we get to this, there was one movie that he did and one movie that Al Pacino did called Scarecrow. This is it, 1973. Gene Hackman and Al Pacino. Scarecrow. He played Max Millan or Millan. Do you ever see a movie where you find out this person that you thought has a last name? He's like, I never heard his name once, but that's his name. Okay. And but Al Pacino played, here's this one scene, Francis Lionel Del Bucchi. They called him Lion. That's where I got my name. You see this gift he's carrying? It's an incredible story. I'm telling you. Al Pacino did this after The Godfather, 1973. He played this. He was like, this is before he wanted that, oh yeah, where he had that foghorn, leghorn kind of and I do believe, I don't know where this came from. But Gene Hackman was just, I think he was in the class of I think the greatest actor, Spencer Tracy, who was just, you can't believe he's acting. But anyway, This is the story. And this is it. And let me tell you a story which is of no particular instance, no particular import to you, but let me see if I can explain this. In 1980, when I discovered talk radio, when it was really fun, when terrestrial radio was fun, and it was before Rush Limbaugh, it was before it got to be real political. It was fun. It was almost like CB radio, or I don't know what the word is, but it was kind of fun. It was fun. It really was. People would call up about different things, about the weather, and you could listen to local radios. Like, we've got to get this bond, and this flooding on 12th Street, and the library. I loved it. It was different. But then Rush Limbaugh came, and there always was, to an extent, with Joe Pine and others, and the Bob Grants. But Rush Limbaugh, God bless him, destroyed it, but gave us all the reason why we're doing this. So anyway, in Florida, they had PLP, WFLA, 570, 970, all this. It was Larry King was in Florida. Neil Rogers was one of the best. Neil Rogers in Miami, IOD, I think. Oh, Neil Rogers was unbelievable. He would say, God damn it. He would curse and call people. I mean, he was a gay atheist jock with a voice. He was a first $1 million guy. This is in South Florida. Anyway, Neil Rogers was it. It was when local talent, we had local people and it was wonderful. Anyway, I discovered it and I loved it. Talk radio was the greatest. Oh my God. I used to use different voices. I thought to me, it sounded like me, but they didn't know. And I loved it. And it would call up. And anyway, to make a long story short, before I get to this, you never had a name. They had us like, where you're from. Let's go to Pinellas Park, go to Largo, let's go to Tampa, go to St. Pete, go to Clearwater, go to Winter Haven. You're on saying, Winter Haven? What kind of name is that? I'm not a place. I'm a name. Okay, so one day I happened to catch Scarecrow and loved it. And Francis Lionel Del Bucchi. I thought that was the greatest name in the world. So anyway, I said, listen, from now on, and somewhere there, I've got this little cassette. I don't know where it doesn't matter. But I said, from now on, I am Lionel. That's my name. I don't know why, but I said, this is the most stupid thing how we're naming people. Let's go to, Harlem. You're on Harlem? Ho Hocus? What? Mendham. Am I the city? Westchester? No. Okay. It was this movie. And I loved it. And Al Pacino was so great. And if everyone learned about catatonia, all these lines when Gene Hackman remember Dixie, and there was a woman who, was it Eileen Brennan? I think it was Eileen Brennan. It was somebody, no, it was another one, where there's one line he says, you know what you're doing to me, don't you? It was just glorious. But anyway, that's so Gene Hackman. Now, the question is, what happened to Gene Hackman? What happened? Here's the answer. We don't know. Nobody knows. They had on our good friend, I've known him for years. I don't know if they talk to me anymore because, I'm all over. They don't mind if they go on Fox News. But anyway, Michael Bodden, he's always been he was a friend of mine for years. And you got to understand, everybody left us. Left me. You have no idea. I mean, it's like, I'm like the kiss of death. Because I'm associated with Trump. Imagine what you're going through. So anyway. So they had Michael Bodden on this morning. Great forensic pathologist. They didn't even bring him into the studio, for God's sake. You cheap bastards. He's right there. Send a car in. He's doing this Zoom, and it's weird. People have the wrong angle, and you're looking down at the camera. It's really weird. It's ominous. It's like, here's this guy talking about that carbon monoxide. It's like, what are you doing? In any event, so they're asking him this question. I don't know, who was it, Ainsley or whatever her name is? I don't know. She's asking him questions. It's like, Jesus Christ, nobody knows what happened. What are you asking me for? Anyway, here's the link. So he says, well, I mean, first of all, do we have any crime scene photos? No. Do we have anything? No. Well, the dog was dead too. Well, can I ask a question? How did any foul play? Well, we don't know. And Bondi very carefully, correctly said, well, it could be, carbon monoxide. It might be carbon monoxide. It might be, because you have a boiler, maybe a boiler. Maybe there's a car in the garage that's attached and it's not turned off, and it's a very, very quiet type of death, and maybe okay, or the wife could have gone crazy and taken everybody out and herself. I'm just saying, we don't know. How the hell do you have somebody on who's opining about, well, what do you think about this? And oh my God. And it's funny, he doesn't know. And he's remember, he was the one who said flat out, and we'll get to Epstein in a moment. He's the one who said this was a homicide. What are you talking about? It's a homicide. So anyway, this case of Michelle Trachtenberg. Are you familiar with her? Mrs. L knows more about her. This is an actress who was in her Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Gossip Girl. Anyway, she, quote, passed away yesterday. She was 39 years old. She was discovered unresponsive in her New York City apartment by her mother. She's kind of up the street, from where we are here. And authorities stated that no foul play is suspected as of now, but her death is believed to be from natural causes. But when you have natural causes at the age of 39, is that natural? And in the year preceding her death, of course, she underwent a liver transplant at 39 years old. Because I don't know if it was because of hepatitis or because of substance abuse. I don't know anything about it. Sources suggested it was complications from the procedure may have contributed to her untimely passing. We don't know. And in the months leading up to her death, fans expressed concern over her apparent weight loss and frail appearance in social media posts. And she addressed these concerns, Trachtenberg asserting she was happy and healthy, and colleagues paid tribute. Rosie O'Donnell weighed in. Okay, that's good. Expressed sorrow over her struggles. Okay, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is nobody knows. We don't know what happened. So they're asking Biden, what do you think? What happened about this? What about this? What about, could it be the transplant? Could it be? And Biden said, well, we don't know. It could be and he mentioned a berry aneurysm. You ever hear that? A berry aneurysm. I thought it was a name. Berry. It looks like a little berry, a little outpouching on like a brain aneurysm could have burst. Could be anything. We don't know anything. How do we ask people, what do you think? I don't know. Gene Hackman could have done it. He could have said, I had enough of this. I'm 95. I'm taking it. I don't. Probably not. Because we live in a world where the people who run the show, these old-time producers, give me that old-time production. It's a train that you have to keep filling with wood and steam and water and all this stuff, to keep it going. Break it. Just keep it going. Just keep saying something. But we don't know anything. God damn it! Say something. Okay, all right. What do you think? I don't know. Feed this. Feed the train, feed the runaway locomotive. Just keep it going. It's just insanity. That being said, Gene Hackman, was a great actor. Mississippi Burning. Did you ever read the story about him when the French Connection, Billy, I call him Billy, Friedkin was a monster. He would do things like, in order for you to show fear, he might have an explosion go off like 2 inches from your head to catch you freaking out. During The Exorcist, which, by the way, the soundstage was right around Hell's Kitchen. Right around here. They had no special effects. They had to bring in They had to bring in, this is for The Exorcist. They had to bring in refrigeration systems to drop the temperature down so that when they would breathe, you would get this. And, they had no clothes. It was horrible. Ellen Burstyn, they had her going, they jerked her, and he didn't care. When he did The French Connection, he had a fellow named, it was the greatest, Bill something. He was the greatest stunt driver ever. He was in Bullet, and Bullet was okay. But they went and they drove at 90 miles an hour underneath for The French Connection. They broke every law. They could have killed people. Friedkin was out of his mind. By the way, a better, if ever you want to see something, make sure you see the movie with Dabney Coleman and the fellow who played Max Headroom, whatever it is. Dabney Coleman, it's called Short Time. Greatest, it might have been special effects, the greatest chase scene ever. Short Time, Dabney Coleman, trust me, all right? But anyway, Gene Hackman, remember the scene like this? Fernando Rey, or whatever his name was, what's his name, said, I thought this was another. He asked for this guy who was in a movie. They bring Fernando Rey. Fernando Rey's the wrong guy. I don't know who this guy. And to make a long story very, very short, trying to make it short, this guy turned out to be wrong, but he turned out to be good. But do you remember the scene in the subway when he waves like this? Gene Hackman told the story about how his father was left his family, and he was out playing as a kid, and his father drove by. It was the last time he ever saw, or one of the last times he saw his father. His father just waved at him, and that was it. And I always wondered, do you think that was it? Gene Hackman had so much. He was a late actor, 36 years old. He roomed with Dustin Hoffman. He was terrific. He was in The Conversation with Coppola was fantastic, with John Cazale, or Cazale, John Cazale was in Deer Hunter, Godfather 1, Godfather 2, and The Conversation, and I think something else. He was in like all these incredible films. Meryl Streep was his girlfriend. He died of lung cancer. Nobody knew. Anyway, Gene Hackman, Unforgiven, that smile, that laugh, one of the greats. But we don't know why he died. We don't know what happened. But just remember this. That's the scene. That was it. And Gene Hackman, by the way, his character, he was always cold. And there's one scene where Gene Hackman is taking off all his, he has a sweater and a t-shirt and a sweater underneath that and a shirt underneath it. It's almost, you can't believe, phenomenal movie. So anyway, so Gene Hackman, wherever you are, whatever this means, great actor, you were it. And he lived in Santa Fe, didn't want to be bothered by this crap. They really weren't even seen. I love that. I love people who say, I don't want to be part of this, because I think he kind of hated Hollywood. And by the way, he was a lib, from what I understand. He had a hard time playing this Popeye Doyle in French Connection. And he really had a hard time, but he had to go deep and all that. that stuff. I don't understand. Raul Rodriguez says, by the way, Raul says right off the bat, if DOJ releases files, what will be the outcome? Raul always asks the best question. And if we go to war, what will happen? Well, and if President Trump signs the bill, what will be the outcome? Well, it's a very good question. Jim Rockford from the Rockford Files says the release of any files will show nothing. Well, we'll get to this in a moment. And our good friend Spandex says Jeff's co-offender list, we have a right to know. Is that CX can co-offend? I don't know what CX. Again, this is almost as good as Pilgrim Media, who will write me. What does 7 having left Rosie Greer? What? Anyway, do you have a right to know? No. No. You have a right to know? What does that mean you have a right to know? I have a right to know. You do? Really? How about battle plans? Well, I don't know, battle plans. Really? How about information that we have that we can use to leverage other people? You have a right to know that? What if, my friends, we have this incredibly fascinating thing that's about to be released, and let's assume, I'll just pick a name, Bill Gates. Now, I have the chance to go to Bill Gates and say, listen, it would really behoove you, I think, to stick with us. It would behoove you, I think, to pay attention to us. It would behoove you to, wait a minute, here we go. Just, Pilgrim says, I'm just watching, riveting as always, sir. Thank you so much. Oh, you could do better than that. I understood what you said. Anyway, if we said, hey, Gates, again, I'm just saying this, play along with us or whatever. We have to have you drop some kind of a wormhole or virus into something. You're going to work for us. We want you to find out. We want you to cut out all this COVID stuff, or we need to know something, and we've got something you want. It's this information that we have of you in these files, and we're not going to let them out. We're not going to let them loose because we want you to work for us. If we release them, because everybody has a right to know, then we can't use it. We can't leverage this against you. Any questions? Any questions? Good. Let's watch Pamela Jo Bondi speaking to Jesse Waters, who is de Starura. Jesse's got an interesting tie. He said, give me the largest Windsor knot. I'm going to wrap it like 3 or 4 times and have a smaller kind of a collar. Just give me something that looks really, really kind of awkward. In any event, here is a story, and let's watch this carefully.
Last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk. Is when can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
Now look at him. Do you think, when can we see the files? Jesse, do you want to see the files? Okay. Jesse, by the way, you could, the Spandex, by the way, Spandex says, I'm trying to write sex offender, but I can't do it. Write SCKS or something. Do it phonetically. But thank you for this. So anyway, Pam, can we see these? Can we see the files? Are we going to see them? Okay. Can we see them? Why are you asking that, Jesse? Because it's in the prompter. The producer gave me this. I don't know. Jesse, do you think you should have the right? I don't know. Jesse, are you sure you want to? If we show you this, are you going to talk about this? Are you going to ask which country basically was promoting him as a spy in our country? Do you want to do that, Jesse? Is that okay? You want to check with the Murdochs first? Do you have any idea what you're saying, Jesse? Any idea? No, he doesn't. Okay.
A lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk. Is when can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
Now watch what she says. She's very smart. Pam Bondi is very smart. Listen to her.
I do. Jesse, there are...
I'm changing the subject. Jesse, on another note, I like to see that. That's a pivot.
well over this. This will make you sick.
This will make you sick. You ready for this? You ready? Jesse hasn't gotten sick until, well, whatever.
200 victims.
200 victims. Now, we're going to talk about that in a moment. 200 victims. Okay.
200. So we have well over 250, actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected.
Okay. Now, we're going to make sure. Now, let me just stop right there. Let me just say, and I have in no way am I refuting any of this. But the question I have is, when you say a victim, if the people there involved in this were of age, I don't think they're victims. They might be involved in something which is tawdry or unseemly. Are you saying there's 250 underage? Because if you are not underage, you don't have a victim. This is a consensual activity, which again might be whatever, and there might be a Mann Act thing, but are you saying that they're 250 underage? Because that's the only way I could see this as being a victim.
And their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some
breaking news. I like that. Look at Jesse. He's just frozen. He's just like frozen. Like there's a rod up his.
Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on?
Jesse, please. What are their names? Jesse, I just told you. What kind? Jesse, I can't. Is there any nude pictures? Jesse, please. I don't know. I'm not a smart man. I'm not here because of my intelligence. I'm here because I'm Jesse Waters. And this, what does he do? Whatever that thing is, I don't know what the hell.
The flights? Are we going to see any evidence?
Oh, what is with these people in this flight data? Would you please tell me, why are they so, what is with it? Here's the flight data. Here, take this. Here, read this. This is a book, but read it. December 15th. Here's a name, Bill Gates. Yeah. Did you ever see a flight log? Here they are. Here's the names. Bobby Kennedy the other day said, I've been on with my family. The flight logs mean nothing. It's just I was there. It's not like he's, I know this is tough for people to understand this. It's not like he's Pablo Escobar. He's not going to Medellin. Why is there this focus on flight logs? That's not the issue.
From what he recorded, because he had all of his homes
okay, now we're getting there.
wired with recording devices.
Now, you think, Jesse, we're going to what? Do you want to see? Now, let me follow this up. Okay, genius, let me ask you something. Do you expect us to provide to you pictures of activity with underage women, which would make you or the possessor of this violating the law? You see, when you find yourself in the possession of this material, doesn't matter why you're there. It doesn't say, I think implied, if you're law enforcement or you're a prosecutor and you're introducing it into evidence, yeah. But short of that, no, Jesse, we're not going to disseminate pictures that are illegal of people that we just told you we're trying to protect their identity.
Yeah. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow.
Hopefully. She's not really Andrew. She's very good.
Is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names,
We know the flight logs. See, with the flight logs. What do you people get crazy with the flight log?
a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Well, we don't know why. We'll get to that. This is very good.
Okay. Well,
along with his co-defendant.
Absolutely. And he had help. That's for sure.
He sure did.
Okay, boy, that Jesse something, isn't he? Wow, thanks, Jesse. Thanks for putting it into perspective. Spandex, of course, trying to get around this sex word. MRO Levon says Ghislaine Maxwell clone in prison. Now, come on. Please. Please. Do you believe this? Does anybody honestly believe that that's not Ghislaine Maxwell? Do you? Do you really believe that's not that that's a clone? Do you really believe that? Do you? You think so? And if it is a clone, I know people say this just to say stuff. And if it is a clone, do you think maybe that Pam Bondi would have gotten to the bottom of this? I think so. I think so. Absolutely. Now, hold on for 1 second. Take a deep breath. We have more to talk about. But first, this. My friend, listen closely. The world is unraveling. Disaster doesn't wait. Food shortages, power outages, chaos. They're not if, they're when. Are you ready to survive? Your life and your family's life depends on it. And listen to me carefully. It depends upon what you do now. Introducing the 3-month emergency food supply from preparewithlionel.com. This isn't just food, it's your lifeline. Over 2,000 calories a day. Fuel designed for disaster. Packed with 100% of the 12 essential vitamins and minerals to keep you strong when the world is falling apart. Fortified for survival mode because nutrition isn't optional in a crisis. It's critical. Sealed in rugged, heavy-duty 4-layer pouches locked inside water-resistant buckets. This is gear built to outlast the chaos. Stored for up to 25 years. Get it, forget it, and know it's there when the unthinkable strikes. 22 food and drink varieties because monotony can break your spirit when everything else is broken. Now, our food scientists test relentlessly trusted quality so you don't gamble with your life. Right now, $100 off. So act now. But this deal won't wait. Disaster won't wait. The clock is ticking. Go to preparewithlionel.com. Secure your 3-month emergency food supply right now. Don't hope for rescue. Prepare to survive. Preparewithlionel.com. Do it now because tomorrow might be too late. All the things, let's go back to this. First of all, what do I want to know? Number one, and don't expect anybody to say anything about this. He was not, dare I say, the victim of self-harm. Do you believe that, and I have absolutely nothing but the 100% faith and confidence in Pam Bondi, whom I've known for years, a woman of absolute integrity. But you understand that there are strategic benefits, strategic bases for you to let certain things go. Do you believe that she will deal with the issue of whether he was and whether the issue was dealt with as far as how he was dispatched? J.M. Sparger says the only right we have is to be able to confirm our justice system is taking down predators, hiding behind power and publicly exposing them. Yes. Yes, I agree with you 100%. Yes, absolutely. And you have the right to know what your Justice Department is doing. There's no doubt about that. But the very first thing is, General Bondi, have you contacted Michael Baden? Michael Baden is the preeminent forensic pathologist who ruled when he represented the family, the Epstein family, that this was, as he says, a homicide. It wasn't self-dispatch. Do you want to do that? And if you do that, General Bondi, you're going to have to be tell that Bill Barr or whatever before the AG was lying when he said, oh no, this is self-harm. He said this. So number one, you know, and I know that's what happened. So number one, before we get to this, will you say, based upon a reasonable degree of medical and forensic certainty, within a reasonable degree of medical certainty, we are of the belief, we are of this understanding, we say that this was homicide. Right off the bat, are you then saying that the Department of Justice, of which you are now in charge, was responsible, at least minimally, for being negligent? Are you willing to do that? And if you do, you open the floodgates to the families and the estate. What happened to the two sleeping people, the guards? What happened? What happened to Mr. Epstein's cellmate? Do you remember this one? Nicholas Trachtenberg. He was sentenced to 4 life sentences in June of 2024. Afterward, do you think it's of anybody's interest, perhaps, for there to be, how do I say this, an incentive, dare I say, an incentive to maybe help us out? Did you ever see his cellmate? Would you like to see his cellmate? Would that be of any interest to you? I think it would. I think it'd be interesting, don't you? That's him. Look at the size of this guy, and those are the 4 people he was alleged to have dispatched. Look at him. This guy could snap like this. Remember this? You don't think that's of interest? I think so. And somehow, during the course of this, he never comes up. He never comes up. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Because as you know, this is the thing which I find interesting. Nobody ever brings this thing up. Former NYP cop, ex-Epstein cellmate, faces quadruple. Look at this. This is Fox News, March of 2023. The quadruple murder trial against an ex-cop who shared a cell with Epstein begins where bodies were found in the backyard of his New York home in 2016. Nicholas Trachtenberg, allegedly selling cocaine, steroids, and other drugs after his 2008 retirement. You don't think so? You don't think this is of any interest? Look at this guy. You don't think this is interesting? How about this? AOL. Feds offer Jeffrey Epstein a deal for incriminating dirt on Trump, according to the ex-cellmate. Did you see this one? This was Trachtenberg. Do you let me see if I can spell this out to you. Let's say I were making a movie, and there was also some instances where they were kind of roughed up or whatever it is. I want you to go in and do the trick. And you will go from looking at the death penalty to life or whatever it is. I'll give you that much. What doesn't matter. It's obvious. Of course it's obvious. Nobody's going to do anything. You want me to go in? Yeah, do that. Take that CPAP cord, whatever it is. Just let him have it. Go ahead. Are you sure? I'm telling you, nobody's going to put 2 and 2 together. But I'm his roommate. Nobody, doesn't matter. They're not going to ask any questions. You don't understand. USAID. I'm using that as a kind of a shorthand for this. We control the media. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to be Quincy. Nobody's going to look after this. Nobody's going to go into this. We even have the Attorney General Bill Barr saying, "Oh, I think it's." And if you explain to something, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want to talk to you about this thing called the hyoid bone. You're going to be hearing testimony today from an expert witness, Dr. Michael Bondi. The hyoid bone is under your mandible. Put your finger under your chin, go all the way to the back, and right there is this bone that's not connected to anything. It's kind of just like floating there. And when it is crushed anterior to posterior, you also see it sometimes in clotheslines and, like in really, it's really, I mean, you got to really do. Then there's the thyroid cartilage, which is like the Adam's apple. That's fractured. This is not seen by this. There's no trauma in that. That's more of asphyxiation. That's a different story. None of it works. Look at the petechial hemorrhaging. Look at all of this stuff. I'm going to put on Dr. Bob. I'm going to show you. Now, this doesn't say who it is, because remember, there are 4, actually 5, but there are 4 types of death. And think of the acronym NASH, N-A-S-H, natural, accidental, suicide, or homicide. This is not natural. This was not an accident. It is not self, because by virtue of this, did you see when Robin Williams, remember the Robin Williams bitch? You can see this. You can see the ligature. You can see it. That's also because of the amount of pressure and the like. But what happens is you causes hypoxia and anoxia. This is the carotid, the sleeper, the rear. Remember when? I'll never forget. I will never forget as long as I live. Bodden was on Sean Hannity, and Sean Hannity wanted to regale Dr. Bodden with his own particular expertise regarding the rear naked choke or rear naked chin lock or arm lock, whatever. It was like, would you stop it? Yes, you're doing this. Wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you. Let the man speak. This is the thing which I understand. If I were to keep this, the rear naked choke, and by the way, there is the difference between a choke and others. You know this, right? You do know the word choke is really misused. A choke is this. That's a choke. That's where you can't breathe. These people, if you ever watch YouTube as I do, I can't breathe. What? I can't breathe. These defendants will say, I can't breathe, no matter whatever I can't breathe. They say, you're telling me. You've been saying I can't breathe for 5 minutes. If you can't breathe, you can't speak. What are you talking about? You've eliminated the possibility of not being able to breathe by virtue of you saying that you can't breathe. People who can't breathe don't yell, I can't breathe. They might for a second, but not for 5 to 10 minutes. So this isn't a choke. This is this word that people use. Daniel Penny, this was a carotid restraint. This is here. This is here. This is what happens when you see somebody in a carotid restraint, a rear naked choke, in a sleeper hold, whatever, you see this. That's what it is. And then when you let go and the blood goes back, if it's in time, you're able to be revived. During asphyxia, autoeroticism, and people who go too far. So I'll make people real smart about this. I mean, after all, they're experts in seed oil. They know all about seed oils and things. They can understand it. Going back to square one, Jesse, are we going to hear more about this dude? Wait a minute. This dude, we want to hear the whole story? Or do you want to look at flight logs? I don't want to see a flight log. So can we all agree it was homicide? Yeah. Then why are you lying? Why did the Department of Justice lie? Why did Pam, why did do it? Call him out. Call out. Say that your predecessor lied. Everybody knows this. It's ridiculous. Okay. Number 2, or 3, or whatever it is, when you have Epstein, who is funded by Les Wexner and you have a Ehud Barak, a former prime minister, and Alan Dershowitz, and you've got this veritable, and I'm not suggesting for a moment that Alan Dershowitz was anything other than representing Epstein, as others did, as you have a constitutional right. But what I'm saying is you have a veritable Israeli powerhouse. I mean, these are some of the most important people in the world who are very, very substantial and very connected with their country. If somebody from France, if we saw Prince Andrew, the head of MI6, Tony Blair, we'd say, wait a minute, is this some MI6 intel operation? You would have no problem with that. It'd be the first thing you would say. Wait a minute, is this MI6? Is this intel? Is this British intel? Wait a minute. But because it's Israel, oh, no. See how we are in this country? See how this third rail works? No. I can go and stand on a college campus and say, I hate the United States. I'll say, I hate this country. I hate this. And you can take their constitution and you can and I'm gonna like this and I hate this. And they say, well, there you go. But if I did the same thing on a college campus and say, I hate Israel, I'm expelled for anti-Semitism. Wait a minute. I didn't say anything about Judaism. I said the country. I could talk about France, no problem. Do you really not understand what's happening here? Does any of this really seriously get by most people? Do we? I mean, come on. Stop it. Just admit it. Sit there and say, hello, I'm not going to give you any pictures of anything because, first of all, most of the people who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein were of age and knew exactly what they were doing. Now, there's some that may not have been. We don't know that. That's number one. Number two, we can't get we can't use it as leverage against anybody else if we tell you what we're doing. That's another issue. And the other problem we have is the fact that, very frankly, we're not sure what it is you're going to get from this, especially when somebody says, hey, hold it. I might have been underage, but I made a deal. I settled with the estate. No. And they say, oh, no. You were the victim of a crime. You were 12 years old. Let's just assume. I don't even know. Oh, I don't want to no. What are you going to do? I'm not going to. No. Well, we're going to release these files. No, you're not. I made a deal with them. I'm living happily ever after. I don't want anybody to bring this up. I was young. I did okay. I made a nice chunk of change. I'm not. And if you bring me, I'll testify and I'll tell you it never happened. You put me on that and I'll say it never happened. What are you going to do? Charge me with perjury? You're going to take a victim and charge her with perjury when she says, I don't know what you're talking about. I went there, but he was a gentleman to me. And Ghislaine, like a sister. I just made a couple of mil or whatever it was. What are you going to do? You're going to release names? No, you're not. You can't release names. The first thing you do is you want to make sure that anybody who was a victim of this, you treat them with kid gloves and you treat them to do everything to respect their privacy and to respect their wishes. And if they made or settled, I don't want to do anything to screw that up, because if you have an NDA as part of the release, the waiver and release, I'm not going to prosecute, I'm not going to do this and that, or not prosecute, but sue you. You put them. You don't want to do this. So the people who've already spoken, we know about Jeffrey and others. She did her. Remember the Queen paid, I don't know how much for Andrew. So let me tell you what you're going to be getting. Nothing. You're not going to get anything. Not because people are holding back. They're not going to tell you what was who sponsored Epstein? Not gonna hear that. Not gonna hear that. Number two, was it a homicide? You're not gonna hear that. Because the first thing in the world is you always want to make sure, if I'm the attorney general, I'm going to make sure that I protect my Department of Justice. And I want to tell them, listen, I'm not going to go on and hang you out to dry, but you put me in a weird position. This was, we should have this thing called a Russell tribunal or a Sartre tribunal, where we have a very heavily attended. We could have Joe Rogan. We could have whoever you like, whoever you enjoy, Tucker Carlson, and we'll put on witnesses, and we'll put this thing on, and we'll say, call your first witness. I'll be the judge, Michael Bondi. Say your name, Michael Bondi. What is your credentials? I'm a forensic pathologist. Great. How many years? New York State. Great. Put on your record. Here what it is. Here's a hyoid. Is da 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 da. Good. What do you think? Folks, you're at home. It's like that X squared or whatever. Vote. Do you think it's homicide? Yes. Well, why did Bill Barr say it wasn't? You don't think he has access to the best people? No, because let me tell you something. Before Donald Trump, nobody cared what you thought about anything. They lied to you. It was this USAID kind of thing. They owned the newspapers. Nothing happened. Go out and say there's no such thing as gravity. Go outside and say that blue is red, and nothing will happen. Put a picture. Think about this. Have a picture of this guy sitting in his cell, who lo and behold goes from facing the death penalty to getting life. It's like, well, why would you do that? Why? There was no problem with the case. Sounds like maybe you made a deal. Go ahead, do the job, and is that far-fetched? Good. Disprove it. It's probably crazy. Disprove it. I can't disprove it. Why? But would you like to see, hey, Jesse, would you like to see the travel records? Oh, look at this one. Oh, look at this travel record. Oh, look. The pilot wrote in a name, Bill Gates. We already knew that. Yeah, I know, but it's a travel record. You like those, don't you? Yeah. Well, these people went to his island. Oh, look at this. Here's a name. You like this? Here's a name. Here's scientists and physicists and people he's met with. How about people who've known? There were people who met with him on, I'm not going to mention it, but one of them I saw who was a physicist, and he met with him and he said, I don't know who this guy was. I met with him. He was going to donate money to the department or whatever it was. You're not asking the right questions. What they're going to do is they're going to give you this kind of a, now you see it, now you don't, kind of flim-flammery, and you're not going to know really what this is about. So let me just tell you this much. The reason why, well, let me rephrase this. The benefit of the Epstein case is to be able to talk about it, to say how we're going to bring it to your attention. And the Trump administration is doing great. Play it up, Broadway it, to use wrestling term. I mean, really bring the heat. Show them coming up, deadline, have the clock. We're gonna learn. Make the radical left, make the USAID folks, make them scared. And the issue is also, why didn't anybody care? You see what I'm saying? I've given you, 5 different questions, areas of interest that have nothing to do with just the release of, no, nobody's going to release pictures. No. You're not going to see any pictures. You don't want to see pictures. And if somebody was the victim of this, either by virtue of tender years, underage, or just lured, or no, we're not gonna embarrass them. I don't want to release their names. Cut Up Chatter said, no one mentions the fleet of concrete trucks that came and went on the island when it first broke, so it could not be silenced. Talk about that. Absolutely. Talk about that. So what's interesting is that Larry has a good one here. He says, total transparency. Humanity is not ready to know everything at once. No, we'll start very, very simply with this one. Was it a homicide? Was it a homicide? No. I mean, yes. What am I saying? Yes. Why did they say it was self-harm? I don't know. Let's start with that. Anybody? Number 2, who do you work for? Where's all this money? Is this a honeypot? Is this an extortion? Who benefited from that? Ask Netanyahu. Ask Mossad. Ask them. It makes sense. If this was France, wouldn't you say, hey, Macron, by the way, are these your guys? We got a French president, whatever it is. I've got French intel. I've got this and that. Did you come here and collect all this? And how would you think if we went to Argentina? What would Malay think if all of a sudden we have this guy, we've got Bill Gates, or Bill Clinton and Bill Gates, and we've got prior heads, we've got Bill, what's that guy's name? Anyway, X Brennan and all these spooks, and they're all in Argentina, and they're all doing this stuff, and they're all collecting data. You don't think Malay would say, wait a minute, who's doing this? Stop being afraid. This is not anti-Semitism. Jesus, it's just common sense. And enough with the flight log. Would you give it to Jesse? He's so goddamn stupid. He doesn't understand it. Good, Jesse. This is great. Really? Yeah. Here, read it again. Late at night, in your bed with a flashlight. October the 3rd, 10:15 a.m. Bill Gates. Yeah. And some other people. And who was the first? Who was the executive officer? Oh, I got that. Who was the pilot? I got the pilot's name here too. This is great. What is going on here? You understand it? Good. Now do you understand it better? You better believe you do. So Cut Up Chatter, J.M. Sparger, M.R.O. Levon, Spandex, Pilgrim Media, Jimmy Rockford, and Raul, thank you. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Just remember, how do I say this? This guy, this guy. Did you know that? Probably not. I'm just saying. Because remember, in our country, nobody really digs deep into the dirt. They're not interested in that. All right, my friends, have a great and a glorious day. I've got a lot of great videos coming up later. Make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Make sure you also are subscribed to Lynn's Warriors. Absolutely. She did a live at 5 yesterday. Her Wednesday free for all. It was a barn burner. Okay. Make sure you do that. And thank you. Isn't it great? Isn't it wonderful? And one more thing, I forgot to show you this. I think this is interesting. Did you see this?
But we're never happy. When we had Trump before, we didn't appreciate him. But I think Trump is a great president. Actually, he's the best president in my eyes. He's the best president
yes,
we ever
sir.
had. Great businessman, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, and the way the day's cabinet thing, you probably went around here.
Like that?
It was really phenomenal. To the point you talked about. Team, putting together a great team,
yes,
put together a fantastic cabinet.
Trump has done an amazing job, and a lot of people in America are upset. But no matter who goes in the White House, we're always upset.
Right.
And I think Trump is the man for the job. He's the best president in my eyes.
Good. And one more thing, which is important. Yesterday at the cabinet meeting, where everybody was screaming, yelling, how come Elon Musk is there? Jesus Christ. what's her name? Joe Biden was there. She conducted. He was just standing there. Nobody cared about that. But here's what the president did, which I loved, which drove the radical left nuts.
The glory and the honor. Thank you, God, for President Trump, Father, for appointing us. Father God, thank you for anointing us to do this job. Father, we pray you'll give the president, the vice president wisdom, Father God, as they lead. Father, I pray for all of my colleagues that are here around the table and in this room. Lord God, we pray that we would lead with a right.
Isn't that wonderful? You know why I love that? Because that's what he wanted to do. Because it's a First Amendment, and you have the right to do this. And nobody could say a word when Rachel Levine and these other freaks walked out, and we had to sit there and nod our heads and go, well, that's the way it is. Do it. It's not a matter about whether you are a Christian or of faith. It doesn't matter. It's the president basically exacting and calling upon his own discretion, his own ideas, his own thoughts, whether they're religious or secular or inspirational or reading from the Constitution. We are back, my friends. We are so back. Have a great day. Don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dead.